celebrates the 200th anniversary of the fourth Hammer-Clavier Sonata composed by Ludwig van Beethoven.
When I first tried to play this sonata, I knew immediately to leave it as an exercise for my later years, and I plan to get to it any day now. The name Hammer-Clavier comes from the German words for hammer and keyboard instrument, and by naming it this, Beethoven told us that it was written for the pianoforte, the piano, which operates by attaching keys that you play to tiny felt-tipped hammers that tap the strings of the instrument. This is different from the harpsichord, which uses small picks called plecta to pluck the strings of the instrument, producing a very different sound. By age 48, when Beethoven composed this sonata, he was completely deaf. He never heard a performance of this monumental work. And for long after it was composed, incredibly, nobody else heard it either. The sonata appears to have been performed publicly for the first time in 1836, about 17 years after it was published. The virtuoso Franz Liszt was the one who finally stepped up to this challenge. In an era of CDs and streaming, we take it for granted that we can listen to any music we like, any time we like. But even modern music must be played to be heard, and this is an incredibly difficult piece to play. Beethoven believed in the transformative power of his music to create a world in which alle Menschen werden Brüder, that is, where all people become brothers. He would have thus been unsurprised that we are listening to the music today in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. But he would have been surprised and delighted to hear it performed by a professional woman piano player. We've come a long way in 200 years. We chose Miss Valentina Lisitsa as today's honorary performer because of her technical excellence, because of her passion for the music, and because her recorded performance is a good 5 minutes shorter than those of others. A reviewer writes that Valentina Lisitsa is an old-school, steel-fingered virtuoso, and it takes fingers of steel to play this sonata. In a nod to tradition, the sonata has 4 movements. I've boiled down 2 centuries of music criticism on these movements to the following observations. First, the allegro. Professional critics are almost unanimous in calling this the first movement. It might also be called the lost key movement because Beethoven appears to lose track of the main key, which is B flat major. It's a perfectly good key, but he searches frantically in D, E, G, D sharp, E flat, even B natural, looking for that lost key, until finally, at the end of the movement, he opens his hand to reveal the B flat major key where it's been all along. Now, it's not the case that Beethoven actually lost the key. Most likely he was simply trying to make us nervous. The next movement, which experienced critics call the second movement, has been described as a humorous form of the first movement, thereby proving that humor is in the ear of the beholder. It's known primarily for its very important introduction of what I believe is a simulated cowbell sound in bars 112 and 113, which I believe has had an extraordinary impact on Western music, that is, Western country music. This second movement is much easier on the ears than the first and requires less than 3 minutes to perform, giving us hope that we'll survive this sonata. This hope is dashed, however, by what bolder critics call the third movement. Beethoven's 19th century biographer, Wilhelm von Lentz, described this movement as a mausoleum of collective sorrow. Early 20th century music critic Paul Becker called the movement the apotheosis of pain, of that deep sorrow for which there is no remedy, the immeasurable stillness of utter woe. We will serve the birthday cake before you hear this movement, so that you won't go back to your room afterwards and refuse to come out for the rest of the day. This movement probably inspired German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche in 1878 to suggest that Beethoven should have orchestrated this sonata, that is, added instruments to its performance. In the lives of great artists, Nietzsche wrote, there are unfortunate contingencies, which, for example, force the painter to sketch his most significant picture as only a fleeting thought, or which forced Beethoven to leave us only the unsatisfying piano reduction of a symphony. In such cases, the artist coming after should try to correct the great man's lives. For example, by restoring to life the symphony that had suffered an apparent pianistic death. Had he been able to read Nietzsche's awesomely patronizing criticism, would Beethoven have slapped his forehead and exclaimed, "Of course, what was I thinking? I should have had violins and a tuba." No, I believe Beethoven's response would have been quite unprintable. According to Thayer's Life of Beethoven, the composer crafted his sonata for more than a year. It was no fleeting thought, but a masterpiece created by one piano virtuoso for other virtuosos. The keyboard is in the Hammerklavier's name. The keyboard is in its soul. Beethoven told his friend and former pupil, Carl Czerny, that it was to be his greatest piano sonata. National Public Radio's Ted Libby describes the fact that an entire succession of romantic music, going from Schubert to Chopin to Schumann, Brahms, and Liszt, derives from this music. Given that we still listen to this amazing piece 200 years after it was composed, we might conclude that Nietzsche's report of pianistic death was greatly exaggerated. It cannot be denied, though, that the Hammerklavier is one of the longest piano sonatas ever composed. Even Richard Wagner, whose Ring Cycle opera requires 15 hours to perform and has cured countless opera-goers of insomnia, is said to have observed in the Hammerklavier a lack of succinctness. The last movement, which most critics call the fourth movement, some critics call the final movement, and some very precise critics call the fourth and final movement, has discouraged pianists for generations from attempting to perform this piece. It is described with words like fury and dissonance as practically unplayable and as posing incredible demands on the performer. Personally, the movement reminds me of the definition of a rocket burn, that is, as a controlled explosion, tremendous power on the brink of catastrophe. One might reasonably expect that after performing this implausibly difficult sonata, pianists would plunge their hands and arms into buckets of ice water to try to relieve the pain and swelling, just like professional baseball pitchers. But this is not the case. While it's true that there are more virtuoso pianists playing this piece than ever before in history, there's no indication that this is due to the introduction of modern refrigeration technology. So, in conclusion, let's answer the question I asked at the outset. Why should we celebrate music with a birthday rather than the other way around? And the answer is that we wish the Hammerklavier Sonata a happy birthday to show our appreciation for the most difficult, most creative, and in subtle ways the most beautiful music ever written for the piano by the greatest musical genius who ever lived. And that is the case. Now for the cake, and thank you very much. All right, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Hammerklavier. Happy birthday to you. All right, so now to the cake. All right, there we go.
Welcome to the birthday party of Beethoven's Hammerklavier. We're celebrating this wonderful work, and I have the honor to read out the original German title. So here we go. Große Sonate für das Hammerklavier seiner kaiserlichen, königlichen Hoheit und Eminenz, dem durchlauchtigsten, hochwürdigsten Herrn Erzherzog Rudolf von Österreich, Kardinal und Erzbischof von Olmütz, etc., 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 in tiefster Ehrfurcht gewidmet von Ludwig van Beethoven, Opus 106.
Where do you think you will be in 50 years at the 250th anniversary of Hammerklavier Sonata?
I hope that I stay alive. Okay. And I don't know where I will be, but I'm pretty sure that the world will be better, hopefully.
I will be 68 by then. Hopefully I'll be a very successful lawyer. I can see myself sitting in my office in one of my law firms, enjoying a cup of tea and listening to Hammerklavier Sonata.
Have you ever had a single song or other musical work that took more than 40 minutes to perform? And are you looking forward to it?
No, actually, this was my first time listening to a musical piece that took more than 30 or 40 minutes, and I really did enjoy it. It was peaceful, in a harmony, and it was really, really hard to play.
No, actually, this was my first time to hear a music that is longer than 30 minutes.
The humorous music critic Peter Schilly says, when it comes to music, fast is good, loud is better, fast and loud is the best. Do you agree?
I disagree. I think fast is good, loud is not better. I'm more into chill music.
I'm mostly into flamenco. I like the gypsy style.
I love jazz and blues, a little bit of rock and roll here and there.
The modern ones like pop, R&B and such.
Do you think Beethoven should have made this Hammerklavier Sonata even harder to play?
I think, as you just explained, sonata I think would be the best for this. I mean, just one instrument to be used to play the music is better. But a symphony it would take away the joy.
Thank you.